Okay, question on if you pursue enlightenment. Um, I think the questioner was asking it, I mean, pursue enlightenment with real intensity and vigor, as opposed to be mildly curious about enlightenment, as I know the individual who asked the question. To talk on how the ego disrupts things and uh, yeah, and how the ego and the collective ego disrupts things. Well, Carl Jung was far more aware than most people give him credit for, and he talked about the collective unconscious. So there is a kind of an ether where the ego, I won't go into it too much in this video, but the ego can almost like intuitively connect with other egos, and so this actually does occur, but one is not aware of how it's occurring so that people who are in negativity can join to disrupt anyone who's doing spiritual work. Um, the ego can internally disrupt spiritual work because there's a quote in the 12 steps. What does ego mean? Edging God out. It doesn't like, the ego doesn't really like spiritual work because it loses its dominance of the head being the source of what you are rather than the infinite connection with source directing you. So the ego is actually losing dominion if you do spiritual work. So the best way to so how it will, I mean, it will use based on your belief systems, or if you go into karma, it was the same thing. Your limiting beliefs or your karma. And if you go into past lives, if you do past life hypnotherapy or kinesiologic testing for past lives, or you intuit or guess your past lives, you'll see that, or if you do karmic research, you can also intuit it through the patterns. If you're in you go into bad relationships that have certain illnesses that come up, or if gangs of people start attacking you in certain groups, then you realize there can be the internal attack from your own ego or collective attack going on from groups of individuals that try and disrupt your process. I mean, we intuitively know this. If you try and give up, you join a program to give up alcohol, and you've got all your friends who drink and like to take drink and then take drugs and then, watch a few horror movies and then go around, you know, doing things which aren't useful in society. Then you suddenly say, look, I'm becoming spiritual and I'm going to give up the drinks, but I just want to come along and chat with you guys. They'll all gang up on you and say, look, take a drink and be a man and join us. We're going to go around and do our gang stuff. So the collective ego will then doesn't like people who do spiritual work, and and your own ego. Now, your ego has got an arsenal of belief systems and karmic things within it. And if you're not threatening it, especially if you're in addiction or just numbing out every day through, I don't know, donuts, alcohol, booze, sex, whatever it is, or TV. Oh, TV. A new one is, the TV would be like Netflix and all that stuff on TV nowadays. Oh yeah, they call it binge watching Netflix box movies or whatever they call them. So all of those things will actually, I mean, the ego is not under threat, so it won't attack you. It's quite happy because it's quite dominant. You're numbed out, you're disconnected from the spirit. If you do spiritual work, Course in Miracles, Hawkins work, if you're in addiction, 12-step work, then the ego then will try and disrupt. You'll get tempting thoughts to go back into your old disruptive patterns, to be lost in your head, to watch movies which disrupt you with negativity, or associate with people who are full of drama and cause chaos. So and also okay, so the ego then the more serious you get, the ego brings up the bigger guns to disrupt you. So when you're not a threat, it won't disrupt you, leave you alone mostly because you're going deeper into the ego. It's getting stronger and stronger, especially with addictions and incessant thinking of how to control things and use on things. But as you do spiritual work and let go of your reliance on horror movies, on sex, on donuts, on um, getting into arguments with people or having groups of having friends who are disruptive in society, whatever it is. And you start to like be meditating and joining, groups of monks or whatever. Other people start, then either you may get attacks from groups of people who think you've gone nuts or you're not interesting any longer, or you'll get attacks from your own individual ego. So certain resentments, angers, beliefs, emotionalities, or chronic illnesses, the whole arsenal of things to disrupt you will come. What one will disrupt one individual will be different to another individual because it depends on the limiting beliefs and karma, which are the arsenal that the ego has. It will just try, it won't give you the big guns. If it can disrupt you with the smaller guns, and you're not doing much spiritual work, it'll disrupt you. But if you pursue enlightenment, then enlightenment is, as St. Francis says, is the death of the ego to recognize the eternal source. So that's like the biggest threat the ego will ever have. And so if you seriously want to do spiritual work with commitment, then the ego is then, it has to really start to pull out its serious guns to disrupt you. For some people, it might be serious illness, you know, um, and it's not uncommon for major illnesses to come up. Other people, it might be romantic stuff, get distracted, but you meet suddenly there's an alluring woman, and she says, "Forget the spiritual stuff. You've got to concentrate on me." So, and then you go, "Oh, well, fair enough. I'll forget the spiritual stuff and concentrate on this woman and make her my higher power and do everything she wants because I don't want to lose this woman." Or it could be food, or it could be alcohol, or it could be a gang of people that will say, "Look, hey, we're gonna like chuck you out of the gang unless you stop being all this spiritual, all this meditating and praying nonsense. Be interesting, be part of the gang." Even so on the mystical level, I mean, I just share some of my own experience. So remember, I'd go out to, so in the collective ego, I'd go into mystical states, just bliss out, doing spiritual work in the early days. And I'd get people, I just sit down. I remember sitting down in Acton Tube Station on a bench in the tube station, totally blissed out. I mean, probably everyone could see me, like I was just blissed out with a smile on my face. And behind an escalator, someone spat on my head. So you see how the collective ego tries to disrupt spiritual states. So I had another thing where I was blissed out. I was actually just standing near my road, on the road, near the road. I just blissed out. I didn't even move. I was just blissed out standing there. And suddenly someone opened the window on their van. It was a white van actually, and spat on me. So all these kind of mystical things happen, and probably a past life thing where I probably was similar. So all these things come when you start getting into higher spiritual states, just to sort of pull you out of them. So various different things can happen. Also, much more esoteric things can happen. I've worked in the 12 steps. I've worked with people with addiction problems, with sex and relationships. And as soon as they try and give up a bad toxic relationship, it's almost like uncanny the amount of temptations or how the person can somehow know where they are and just be there to try and pull them out of their commitment to leave a bad relationship or to leave places which are not good. So it's like almost like the collective ego orchestrates things in the most uncanny way to disrupt people who are trying to break free of ego patterns. So once you start doing a lot of spiritual work or helping a lot of people, you realize it's beyond the individual. They weren't actually trying to, these people just show up mystically to disrupt you. It's almost like they're being orchestrated in the wrong way. So yeah, so that's I think that's what I'll say on ego disruption. Yeah, the more serious you get with enlightenment, the more serious the ego and the collective ego gets with disrupting you. Hence Hawkins' work on why so many people fall as they get seriously committed because of the amount of temptations from inside and from out. So I'll stop the video there, stop recording.